Hello everyone, True Zero Emissions here. So leaving Cameron's place, just taking a little ride around the town. It's really nice up here. It's so helpful to talk about project ideas with Cameron because Cameron is able to broaden my perspective of how I perceive my interest in projects. These kind of technical projects, or these very technical projects that are about fuel systems and about efficiency and about electricity. And Cameron is encouraging me to take classes in electronics. And it's a little embarrassing because, like, so many of my friends have been like, Joseph, take a class. I'll even take one with you. I'll even take a class with you. Like, I'm interested too. And I mean, they don't say it like that. They're just like, yeah, I'm interested in that. And they may want to take the class, right? But look, I mean, why haven't I gone in the class yet? Am I just too busy with, like, other projects? But if I'm interested in electricity, and interested in electronics and circuitry, I need to have the better foundation that I have in electronics, especially I'll call it classical electronics, seems to be like it would be helpful. I don't think it would hurt. And just knowing that the whole story is not going to be told anywhere. You know, it's like, if someone goes to school for a job, the schooling is just part of it, right? It's not the whole... it's not all the knowledge that's needed to do the job. It's like people have often said to me that when they went to school, they got a glimpse of... I'm using the word glimpse, but it's like it got them started, right? And for example, Rick Friedrich, who I have a profound desire to understand, like, what he's talking about in his videos and what he's sharing in terms of, like, how he relates to energy and circuits. It seems like learning more about circuits and electronics and electricity in school could increase my understanding of relating to what is being shared, not just in Rick's videos, but in hundreds of thousands of videos on the internet. Wow, it's so nice out. I'm just gonna cruise around a little bit. I've started to watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Since this channel is my journal, I'm gonna share with you something personal. I need to turn off the commercials. It doesn't seem like it's that much more of a fee to have no commercials. It's just that it's so disrupting to the story to me. I've always compared, like, an interruption in a movie or something to, like, if I'm reading a book or something. Like, if I'm reading a book or studying something, I don't feel like I want my attention to be taken away from what I'm doing, like, randomly. Just like, oh, now we're going to talk about something else. My brain is, like, begging me to please protect it from those experiences. I'm just strictly speaking from a introspective viewpoint of this is what it feels like to live in my body. And if we listen to our bodies and listen to our minds and our feelings and our emotions, I want to respect and honor that inner life. So I'm going to do my best to do that, which I do my best to do that now, in every way that I can. Now, I could get lost, but because I have, well, this is a very steep straight, because I have a map, and I do have a little bit of charge in my phone, I think, enough, that we can do some exploring. Now, going on this road reminds me a little bit of what Justin and I recently did in Hollywood Hills, where there's lots of curvy roads, which was a lot of fun. And it was late at night, so there was very few vehicles. And also, when else did we do that? Oh, Songhai. I'm still learning how to properly pronounce Songhai's name. Songhai and I were riding around as well on our motorcycles. I had the Zero, which did very well. Let me tell you something that was so fun on the Zero. By the way, I'll tell you a little story. I know I've said this before and I repeat myself a lot, but the gentleman that started the company that worked at NASA for over 30 years was, I don't know how to say it, I'll say asked to leave. He was, what I was told was he was micromanaging everything, and people just wanted to go a different direction. And I guess the gentleman that started the company, the NASA engineer that started the company, that started Zero Motorcycles, he had an absolute passion for efficiency. And that motorcycle is so efficient. And what it would do is, it would, oh gosh, I just realized something. My battery's full and I'm going downhill. That can be dangerous, because I think I can burn it out, or, oh gosh, I better use up some of the battery. It can cause problems. Forgot about that. And that's what I'm talking about right now with the Zero. The Zero motorcycle, what I mean is, we went riding up in the mountains and these curvy roads in the Hollywood Hills, Songhai, and he had his 300cc or 350cc, I'm not sure which one of those it was, fuel injected 2012 motorcycle, his Ninja, and I rode the Zero, and I'll tell you, it was hard to be behind that motorcycle because I could smell the exhaust the whole time. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh, I want to put an experimental fuel system on a motorcycle and see if the exhaust still smells bad, Imagine if the exhaust didn't smell bad. I would be so happy, because then I could follow a motorcycle and it wouldn't smell bad, because it just smelled so terrible. It was giving me a headache. I mean, I had a headache. Oh, that's where my headache comes. It started with the fuel. I said earlier I had a headache. Yeah, it was the fuel. Let's try going this way. It's breathing the fuel for hours, being behind the motorcycle. And I followed Songhai because he knew where we were going. So I followed him. There was times that I led for a little bit, and then he said we could take turns leading, but... So, I don't know where that road went. Anyway, so, the Zero, going back to that story. So I would go up these hills in efficient mode, use what was it called, eco mode, which had plenty of power, right? Plenty of power. And then going down the hills, I would put it in sport mode because it has a really strong regenerative braking. And I would just coast down the hills, and what I would do is I would accelerate a little bit and then let it slow down by itself, and then accelerate. I think it's called pulse and glide. And I'm not sure I'm using those words like technically correct, because I know that could have a very specific meaning to hypermilers. But I'm just going to say I was giving it some acceleration and then coasting, and then giving some acceleration and then coasting. And I want to explore that other road up there. So if I can find it, let's see if I can find it again. So that battery, so let's say I'm at like 78% on the zero when I'm at the bottom of the hill, going up the hill, right? Going up the road, the curvy roads, riding around, and then regenning on the way down, recharging the battery, right? And not using any brakes, not using up the brake pads, which is my favorite part, right? The extra battery power, that's just a bonus. I'm 100% saving on brake pads, 100% saving. I think I do need to rebuild the brake master cylinder, I think it's called. I'm not sure what it's called, the braking part. I want to see what's here. This is called Las Rocas. So yeah, the brake lever will get soft when it sits for a few days. I'm not sure I bled the brakes like several times, so I think it may need to be rebuilt. But anyway, the regen, which is when you see the brake light come on, that means it's clicking, it's activating that regen, right? That's when it activates, and on the zero. And then, is this a dead end? Yep. I don't know if this goes through, but we'll find out. So, imagine I'm starting at the bottom of the hill, 90, or let's say 78%, ride around, go down the hill, like I said, right? So when I'm riding around, I'm in eco mode, and then going down the hill, when it's steep downhill all the way down, that's in sport mode because it has stronger regen, right? And then I think a root pushed that cement up right there, pushed the asphalt up. So then imagine going down the hill, and at the bottom of the hill I'm at 70. Oh, my foot got stuck. I'm at 78% again, right? 78%. I mean, that's like I felt like I rode around the hills without using any energy because it put it back in going downhill. I'll tell you something, that motorcycle is extremely efficient, and it would be so fun to do some experiments with range extension on that when I do want to do that, but I want to be knowledgeable enough to not harm the motorcycle. You know, I don't want to blow the controller or the battery or something. Although that could happen. That's part of experimenting, right? But I want to minimize the chance of that happening and maximize the chances for success by talking with people that know more than myself, which may be going to school and learning about electronics more, right? From a formal and official experiential process, if I say it that way. So let's see where we're going right now. I'm going to have to take a peek at the map. Someone did a burnout right here where they make the tires spin. Must have been something powerful. There's some really powerful vehicles out there. I mean, we've had powerful vehicles for a long time, right? Meaning that there's been powerful vehicles in existence for a long time. So we're going to make a left on North Michelinda Avenue. I could do a little carving maybe, but I hope I don't slip because the roads feel like they're a little bit, well, there's moisture out, right? So the roads have a little bit of moisture on them. I don't think my tires have a chance to warm up yet. I'm running a knobby tire. Cameron was saying that he loves the sound of the links. He said it sounds like power. And I think he's referring to the motor and to the sound of the tire. I would have to ask him. But he just said he likes the sound of it. It sounds powerful. Oh, wait. What did this say? Where do I turn? Oh, a mile. Michelinda Avenue. Okay. 1 mile. That's a ways out. And 1 mile is probably like 6 or 8 blocks or something. Just guessing. So my car's in the shop. It's missing, meaning it doesn't sound like it's firing on all 4 cylinders. I'm not sure what it is. We just changed the coils and the spark plugs just a few months ago. So I'm thinking maybe a spark plug or coil could be defective, or it could be something else. I don't know. But I am thinking about selling the vehicle, even though I like that car so much. I'm thinking of selling it and just get something more simplistic. Or maybe trying to buy a solar car. Wouldn't that be fun? Buy a solar car which would be an experimental car, right? Or build one, or buy one that's already been built and register it as experimental and drive that. I would enjoy that. And then during the nighttime, it'd be running on batteries. During the daytime, the batteries could be charging. It frustrates me beyond measure that it's taking so long for the Aptera Motors vehicle to come out. I like that car so much. Aptera Motors, I just love it. I wrote them a couple years ago and I said, the sooner these cars come out is the sooner that someone can buy one, and then it's the sooner that someone will probably sell a used one, and then I could probably maybe buy it, you know. But you never know, with a car like that, it might cost more to buy a used one than a new one, because, you know, if the demand is greater than the supply, which it's been that way for 20 years, the demand has been greater than the supply. They haven't supplied one car yet, and there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of people that would love to have one, and there's a lot of people on the waiting list. You know, people say there's a lot of people that won't want that car, and that makes sense, but for the people that do want it, it would be nice to be able to buy it. Well, it's interesting to think about the history of YouTube. I remember when YouTube was just starting out, and it's come a long ways. I don't know all the history of how many times it's changed ownership, or if it ever has changed ownership, or if it's more of partnering that's changed. This is Michelinda. We'll go down here. I haven't kept track of like how everything is, what's progressed and changed, but I have seen that they are here to stay. And I remember people inviting me to all these other channels to add my videos there, and I just never did. I just, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I'm with YouTube. I'm not going anywhere. Why would I post my videos somewhere else? And one of my thoughts were, if I post my videos somewhere else, I don't know what their stipulations are, their contractual stipulations are. What if it says you're not allowed to have your videos up anywhere else if you load up your videos here, right? And I didn't have the time to read through all that, and people just loved YouTube. I don't know how YouTube started. I think YouTube started, if I recall correctly, as a place that people could promote their personal projects, like their films or their artwork or just anything personal, right? And now look how big YouTube is. And now YouTube has like all kinds of things on it. So many things. And it feels good to have been a part of YouTube from the very beginning. I mean, for me, it was the beginning. I think the channel started in 2011, the True Zero Emissions, which I think was originally like 150 miles per gallon, because that was the goal. I was like, yeah, I want to get 150 miles per gallon. And then I ran the AquaTune system and different water fuel technologies, and I was getting like around 200 miles per gallon. Although the world record was higher than that. But then I'm like, now what do? Do I change it to 1,000 miles per gallon to make that a new goal? You know, like, do I set a new goal for myself? But then I was meeting people online, and someone was sharing with me the importance of humanity and technology, and said, these two concepts, I'm calling them concepts, but that doesn't exclude other perceptions of that, okay? But these two concepts can coexist, humanity and technology. And so the channel, I named my channel Humanity and Technology because I just loved those two words. So the channel became Humanity and Technology. And then, which I just love humanity and technology. I love that. I always will. And I think about it every day. But I thought, What? Oh, I remember the stickers on automobiles saying partial zero emissions vehicle. Partial zero. Partial zero emissions vehicle. And I asked people about that. I said, what does partial zero mean? They said, there's no such thing as partial zero. It's either zero or it's not zero. And I'm like, okay, so what if we had true zero emissions? What if we had true zero emissions? Truly, right? Not partial zero, but true zero. And there was born true zero emissions. There was born this channel that you are now listening to and watching, or are saying, gosh, he's uploading more videos again. Why can't he just make a 3-minute video like once a week instead of like 100 1-hour videos every day? No, maybe no one says that. Maybe that's just me saying that. Maybe I don't want to bore you guys, but I'm like, this is my journal and I'm sharing a lot of my thoughts here. If not all of them, right? But definitely thinking about ways to articulate and share with you this beautiful, my perception of this beautiful world that we live in. And all the while knowing I could fall any second right now. And it's happened before. I've fallen when I was least expecting it, and that's usually when a crash happens. It's when it's least expected. Meaning just like, you're like, everything's fine. Whoa, I'm on the ground. How did that happen? And I'm trying to remember, someone just got really hurt. I was talking with someone that got hurt. I was talking with someone, I'm not going to use names, but and this happens to many people, so I don't think saying this story is going to identify anybody. But someone, that's really good at like jumping. They're very fast, and they're a great electric unicycle rider. Like to me, I would consider them like a master, right? And they were literally, I could be mistaken, but if I recall correctly, they were just sitting down and rolling through like the dirt, just cruising, sitting down through the dirt at a low speed, maybe a couple miles an hour. Just rolling, just barely moving, right? Just sitting down and rolling through the dirt. And went close to a tree. And the tree had like wood chips, or just, that, it wasn't dirt, but it was like wood chips, right? Around the tree to make it look nice, I think. And I think it serves a purpose too. Those absorb moisture and hold it for the tree, right? I think that's what it does. You'd have to double check that yourself if that's interesting to you. But while the person on the EUC, right, who's really good on riding electric unicycle, was just sitting down and then rolling past this tree, this small tree or medium tree that had these wood chips there, the EUC fell, like it kind of like it slipped right to the side, like maybe they were turning, or it turned by itself because it just slipped. The EUC immediately accelerated, and that has to do with where you set the cutoff angle on the EUC, right? So the default, it cuts off like really, really safe, but some people will turn that off, like way down, so that because they're doing like stunts maybe, or carving really, or turning really, really sharp, and like you have to set it for what you're doing, right? So if they have the lean angle set to where the EUC does not turn off right away when it leans over, it has to lean a lot. Somehow the EUC spun the tire up really fast, and I'm not sure what EUC it was that they were riding, but I'm guessing, and I'll find out. I'll ask what the cutoff angle was set to at that time. I'll ask that when I see the person again. And maybe that wasn't a factor. I'm just thinking it could have been, because I know that affects... I think it's a possibility that affected what made the EUC rev up, and didn't know that no one was riding it at that moment, right? Because it lost traction, and then the wheel spun up, and it hit their leg, and took a bunch of skin off, which hurts a lot, right? So the reason I'm telling you that story is This is an example of a person that's a really good writer, and when they least expected it, right? They're just sitting down, rolling through, like it's like riding by this tree right here. If I just roll by that tree and then fall and then get hurt. We turn here, and they got really hurt. They left the scene of that ride. They left that ride. That was at Fullerton Loop, and Connor and I were riding that day. And right when we arrived, this person left because they just got hurt. And I didn't really understand how hurt they really were until I talked to them, which was like, I don't know if it was a week later approximately. I talked to that person, and they showed me their leg. It had a big scab on it, and they were saying how much it hurt. So, but you know, keeping in mind, this is what I do. I keep in mind that even like right now, I feel like, oh, this just feel like I got it. It's okay, but I'm reminding myself I could be on the ground any second. Okay, I could be on the ground any second, and I think that's why a lot of people don't ride electric unicycles. I was reading a comment where a gentleman was saying, I'm not going to ride an electric unicycle because the reward to risk factor was insufficient reward to risk factor. They need a greater reward and less risk. That's their requirement. Now I perceive this completely differently. I'm like, I want to use my whole brain. And if I could use like 1% more or 1/10 of more percent than I'm using right now, that's amazing. I want to do that. How can I use more of my mind? And here is this experience that I perceive, and I don't hear people say it this way, but I say it this way. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just sharing my experience. I perceive the EUC kind of like breathing. I don't think about breathing, I just do it. I also perceive it like the way the heart beats. I don't think about my heart beating, but my body does it. I think about it like the immune system. The immune system does its job. All it needs from me is for me to feed it good food, right? And to communicate with the air I breathe, if I'm practicing breatharianism, as Jasmuheen used to teach. I still feel bad for her because she went public with her. Everyone was asking her, go public with this. How could you not share breatharianism? Which is where you get some of your energy in varying degrees, depending on your own personal preference, from the ether, right? And we're already powered by the ether anyway, but Jasmuheen, if I understood her correctly, I think she is associated with is it the Academy of Peace? I forgot the name of it. I'd have to look into that again. It's been a while. But when she went public, they just humiliated her. Absolutely humiliated her, made fun of her, made jokes. And that is a consistent experience in when someone has something they want to share with the world. I've seen that a lot. I do understand that there is a lot of fake stuff always taking place, and it can make it hard to distinguish about what's truly true and not. And I want to say, if you're looking for what inspires me to be healthy, I would say have a look at Forks Over Knives, which is a documentary, an educational documentary. It's on YouTube. It was on YouTube the last I saw, and it was free to watch. I think it still is. And Forks Over Knives is also a book, or it's many books, and it's recipes, and it's many things. What else? I would say have a look, if you want to know more about what inspires me, I would say have a look at Nassim Haramein, which his research, which is peer-reviewed, is extremely interesting, and I think it's good for the imagination. Remember what Einstein said? Imagination is more important than knowledge. Remember that? Doesn't mean that knowledge is not important. It does not mean knowledge is not important, but it means that there's something significant about imagination. Something very significant. And maybe we don't need to fear the imagination. Wow, there's so few vehicles out right now. It's amazing. So it's so cool out right now. The weather's so nice. And I don't know what temperature is. It feels perfect with this 2 jackets I have on. Cameron loaned me one of his jackets because I forgot my jacket earlier. Because, as I said earlier, it wasn't cold when I left today. And then I go, oh, I forgot my jacket. And then luckily Cameron loaned me his jacket. Okay.
Wait.
Let's see where we are. We turn at Colorado Boulevard. Okay, here we go. Let me make sure we're recording. Yep. Flashing red means recording. So I was telling Cameron that I talk with a lot of people about my thoughts about my experimenting with fuel and the experiments I've done, and also the things I think about, and how people can get so excited. And then I'll also say that, people just oftentimes want to be supportive. And it doesn't mean that, everyone's going to like what I'm doing. I was kind of interested in what Cameron thought would be a way to reach people. Like, how can I communicate with people what I'm thinking about? And let's see where I'm going here. I'm trying to look for those spider webs that hang down. Wow, look at that house. Neat. Crawling right out of the ground. It's for Halloween. One thing that's hard for me to imagine is when a person says to me that they're not really interested in, and I could be saying this wrong, that they're not interested in, I still don't know if I'm saying this right, in the efficiency of the engine. Like, if I say that an internal combustion engine is only 40% efficient at most, to me, I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's so inefficient, right? Out of 100%, it's only 40% efficient. So if I spend $1 to make the vehicle move, 40 cents moves the vehicle, and 60 cents doesn't move the vehicle. I'm just like, how do I use more of the dollar to move it? And I think about that, and I feel excited about that. And when I talk to people that don't know about anything technical or engines or anything, they get excited. They're like, yeah, they're excited too. But the question is, can someone that's into engines, that likes engines, can that kind of person, if I say that kind, meaning that a person with that knowledge of mechanics, can a person with that knowledge be interested in, what if we could make the engine 41% efficient, or 50% efficient, or 60% efficient? I mean, look how many numbers there are between 40 and 100, right? Or even if we say between 40 and 90, right? Just to get it up to 90% efficient. But here's the thing, we can't make everyone happy, but just having conversations can be helpful, and thinking about, I guess I'll call it the process, right? The process. Cameron had some really interesting ideas about, and I'll share them with you, about designs for the vapor, I'll call it the white vapor pre-combustion oxidation chamber, where we oxidize the gasoline molecule. And I'm saying that, and I don't actually know exactly what's happening. I don't exactly know what's happening, but I'm just going to say that because that's what Bill Kendrick said, NASA research scientist, retired, that shared this idea, and he discovered this by accident, and his dream was for everyone to be aware of this and to find some way to integrate it into our daily lives. That was my understanding of Bill Kendrick's dream. I think of also Thomas Bearden, who committed his life to documenting the knowledge that he acquired about, I'll call it efficiency and experimentation with electrical circuits. Oh no, am I gonna get wet here? Let's see. Okay, trying to go here. Try not to get too wet. Go through real quick. Okay, free car wash. Okay. That was a lot of fun, the trail we did earlier. You'll see that in videos. I was recording our trail ride up near JPL. I don't know how many trails are up there, but that was the first time I went up there without all the hikers up there, because usually there's hikers walking and we have to be careful. Cameron and I had gone up there with someone that when we all used to ride scooters years ago. I'm guessing at least 5 or 6. And the person that went up there with us, with Cameron and I, was racing by the hikers really fast. That really angers hikers. And they would even pass them quickly, like from behind. So that's not a good thing to do, because I think it just upsets people. But we had a nice ride today, or I should say tonight. That was fun. It sounded like a car alarm, possibly. Turned off though. Okay, I could go in the street. Less spiders out there, right? there's no bike lane out here. Oh, the alarm went off again. I guess I have to use the car lane. That sounds like a malfunctioning car alarm, because it just keeps going. It turned off and then turned back on. But I don't think there's anyone near the vehicle. I didn't see anyone. I mean, I didn't walk around the vehicle looking, but I didn't see anybody near it. Okay, I'll go back in the street, but there's no bike lane right now. I have to use the regular lane, so I'll just keep an eye out for vehicles behind me with my PID Zoom, PIDZOOM mirror, rear view mirror, wide angle. I can put my goggles on. Let's see, we're turning on Colorado Boulevard in 1.8 miles. Okay. Okay, I put the phone away for a moment. Put the goggles on. Wow, so tonight, actually, because it's past midnight now, Thursday night, tonight we're going to have a wonderful ride. And we're going to have a pre-ride, which I'm really excited about. And that's going to be at 7:30 p.m. So I'll bring that to you. You know what? I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to see if I could do a live stream. Let me think about this. How could I do live stream? Okay, first of all, I have to find out if the Insta360 Ace Pro can do live stream, because I don't know if it can. And if it can, then I might try that. My only concern is that if it doesn't work, then I'm not going to have the video footage that I could have recorded if I was just recording video, I'll say traditionally. So, anyway, I saw the officer slow down to look. Yeah, these are interesting. I mean, it's one wheel, I'm balancing on it. It is interesting to look at. And like I've said before, I had officers watch me practicing when I was learning to ride. They used to sit there for like very long periods of time, parked, like, right outside of where I was practicing. Like if I'm practicing in a parking lot, they could be right there in the street. And just, I think they're just curious about it. Like, what is that? I feel like something I'm struggling with, and maybe I'm delusional, insane, and all the crazy words I cannot think of. But in my mind, I don't know how to explain how I see things, because people have asked me that, how do you see things? What happens is my imagination puts together information, and it feels like no time has passed, like there's no passage of time. So if I learn something, that will connect itself to something else that I learn that relates to that or builds upon an idea that gets me closer to the understanding of something that I'm thinking about in terms of like a Colorado Boulevard 1.1 miles, in terms of like, something I'm trying to solve, if I say it that way, a challenge. So four-way. Oh, that car ran a red light. I'm really surprised. It's rare to see a car run a red light. I don't know why. Oh, that's weird. Green that side. No. There we go. Oops. I almost. Okay. Oh boy. As I get more tired, everything becomes more difficult, like getting on the electric unicycle. It's quite a challenge when I'm tired, I tell you that. It's the first, like, getting it going part, right? I don't feel like that takes a lot of energy ordinarily, but when I'm tired, I can struggle with it a little bit, as you just saw. That's why I was stumbling. Okay, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. That's okay, it'll come back. Oh. So, my mind puts together information like a puzzle. And even if years go by, or months, or days, or hours, the information gathers itself. It comes together in I'll call it a cohesive way that is meaningful and specific. So when I see something like, I'll call it the white vapor fuel system, which is completely different than any other vapor fuel system I'm aware of, right? If you just run an engine off of vaporized fuel, or, you can vaporize fuel with vacuum, like low pressure. A lot of people like that way. It can be vaporized with a venturi, which is, imagine a cone, and sending the fuel vapors through a cone. And on the other side of that cone is a low pressure area where the fuel becomes a vapor, right? That's another way to do it. The thing is, that's totally different than the flashing vaporizing system that I'm talking about right now. And part of the reason I'm extra interested in the white vapor flash vaporization pre-combustion oxidation chamber is because have you ever noticed on a fuel vapor system, there's all kinds of nozzles and adjustments, and it's all complicated, like trying to get the air to fuel ratio just right? Well, when we flash vaporize the fuel, imagine being able to give every molecule of fuel the oxygen it needs to burn, to combust perfectly. Stoichiometry, right? Stoichiometric. Imagine that there was a way to do that. Like, imagine if we could buy gasoline. Let's say we buy pressurized, well, I'll just say it this way, right? Because we talk about, we already pressurize natural gas. We pressurize natural gas, by the way, expands 600 times when it changes from a liquid to a vapor, right? So we have water expanding 1,800 times when it converts from a liquid to a vapor. Gasoline expands 163 or 162.3 times when it turns from a liquid to a vapor. And Not sure of propane, but that could be looked up. These numbers are all available. What I haven't seen, except through research, is flash vaporizing fuel, where we heat it. We bring the room temperature fuel, ambient temperature fuel, to a hot surface suddenly. It combines the fuel with the needed oxygen to burn that fuel perfectly. So now I'm going to say, if that fuel, I'll call it modified fuel, right? If the flashed white vapor fuel, which has the needed oxygen, right? We can call it oxygenated fuel. I've bought fuel and it says this fuel is oxygenated, like they put a lot of oxygen in it, but that's not the same as what I'm talking about, because it's still a liquid, right? And then people say, oh, well, the fuel injectors vaporize the fuel. It sprays a vapor in there, but it doesn't. It's liquid droplets, and you can actually read the size of those droplets are, they're measured in microns, I think, which is very, very small, but it's not a vapor, though. It's literally a droplet of water. A droplet of fuel. And I think that all people, going back to the idea of being crazy and all these words that describe... oh, where do I go here? Oh, yeah. Let's see where this wants me to go. Okay, I don't really want to go on this bridge, but I will because I have to cross this area. This is just a road. It's not a highway. It's a bridge. Let me focus for a second. This is so beautiful here. Look at these lights, how beautiful the lights are. It'd be really nice if there was a sidewalk that went across that bridge, but I don't think there is. Including over here, there's no sidewalk to the right. See this? I don't know if you can see that. There's no sidewalk. Okay. Okay, I don't see any vehicles. Ooh, that's bumpy. Bumpy road. Okay, we're gonna keep going. I'm looking for a sidewalk that I can go onto. Oh, there's one. Perfect. Thank goodness. This looks fairly new too, this ramp right here. I'm really glad they put that there. Thank you, Pasadena, for putting a ramp there. I do feel that all curbs should have ramps on them. Otherwise, how can people get up and down them if they have like a wheelchair or a mobility scooter, right? A jump. Okay, so what was I thinking about? Try to bring my train of thought back because I lost my train of thought momentarily. Oh, there's the sign. See, it is up. I told you. It sounded like it fell earlier, but it didn't. But I don't think I could pass this, so I'm gonna have to go on the street. What does the sign say? Detour ahead. That's what it says. But it's blocking the sidewalk. There's no way to cross the sidewalk with that sign there. Unbelievable. Imagine that, just putting a sign there, block the sidewalk, letting people know detour ahead. Well, they actually detour right there because you can't go through it. So if someone's using the sidewalk and they have a mobility scooter or a wheelchair, they can't get through there. I'm guessing that sign could have been put up on the pole, so that way it's not on the sidewalk. I see fog. So I notice when I go through fog, it makes the camera, like, it doesn't see real well. But just know that I'm going through fog right now. And apparently my light is like lighting up the fog, and that shows as reduced visibility on the camera. That's how it appeared. Let's see if I'm going the right way. Yeah. They're giving me a thumbs up. I think they're saying hi. What's up? That guy has the biggest smile. Did you see that smile? I just love that. It makes people so happy. I couldn't understand what he said, but he was smiling. I think he said, "What's up, man?" or "Hey, man," or something like that. But did you see that smile? I don't know if you saw that because the camera's on the left of the helmet. But that guy, that man had the biggest smile. Gosh, like it just made his day or something. Like he's so happy. That makes me happy to bring people smile to people's faces. I didn't get that on riding a bicycle or on a scooter. I would meet people that were enthusiastic and excited about it. But it's different with the electric unicycle. It's like a different level. Like if I was riding the electric a scooter right now, I never experienced someone like excited like that on the road. Like that, right? It might be like more like when I'm at at a stoplight and someone will interact with me, ask questions about the scooter, and they're happy, right? But with the electric unicycle, I'll get cars like that where he's like slowing down and he's like, you know, he's like, he wants to interact with me. That's why I rode out there, to say hi. I mean, how could I not say hi to someone with a big smile? A really big smile like that, right? I mean, I don't always say hi, but I right now I'm like, I'm gonna say hi because there's so little traffic out, and I just felt like it would be nice to say hi. Okay, so let's see where we are here. Progressing along the path and making progress. Okay. Oh, is there... I hope there's a crosswalk here. Yeah, it looks like there is. Wow, it's so faded. Like, the lines are so... Like, I almost didn't see the crosswalk. Do you see a crosswalk there? Look at this. Okay. That's it. That's our crosswalk right now. That's our time to roll. Time to go here. Okay. I should check and make sure the camera is recording. Yes, it is. So I was speaking with a woman the other day. She was riding a bicycle. I don't know if I already said this. I probably did. But she, the woman I spoke to, she was riding an electric bicycle. It was her friend's. And she said that her friend, I don't know if it's the same friend that owned the electric bike or not, but she said a friend of hers was trying to learn how to ride an electric unicycle and broke her nose and won't ride one again. And I said, well, I learned holding onto a shopping cart, and then I let go over time, like as I got the experience of the feeling of the muscle memory of doing the experience of balancing with assistance, you know, which was holding onto a shopping cart. Now, some people hold onto a wall or something, and there's many ways that people learn to ride. I just didn't want to, like, to me, holding onto a wall was, I wanted to get more miles, if I say it that way, right? I wanted to ride more miles. And how can I ride miles holding onto a wall? Like, I just think it would just tear the gloves up, right? Just tear my gloves up, just holding onto a wall. So I just held onto a shopping cart, which is made to roll. And then I would just go at low speed and then go a little faster and a little faster. And then once I started letting go of the shopping cart, I was able to acquire the skills of balancing without the assistance of the shopping cart. Oh wow, did you hear that? I need to look at that. I did not see that branch sticking down. Gosh, that hit hard. That thing hit solid. Like thumped the helmet. What was that? Oh, it was this. Whoa. I don't know if I could break that or not. Wow, look at that. It's like brittle. Okay. But that's going to grow back. You know, in a couple weeks probably. But at least it won't hit someone else in the head. If someone wasn't wearing a helmet and they hit that, like on a bicycle, if they were riding a bicycle, or if they were tall, that could cut someone in their head. I've cut myself before, walking under trees and the trees not being trimmed high enough. Quite a few times actually. Let's see where I am. Okay, I think I'm gonna cross. So I'm on the, I'll call it the correct side of the road. Is this the correct side of the road? I see a bike path too. Use that. Yeah, so from the bike path, this is definitely the correct side. Okay. There's the bicycle drawing. Yeah, all the people that were a part of the bringing into, if I just call it the reality of technological advancement, were called crazy, and just all the words you can think of that sound bad. But look at the world we have, right? People said Nikola Tesla was a total crazy person. He gave us these lights are powered by his discovery. AC, alternating current, sine wave. But it turns out, I mean, it seems to me that if we take that sine wave, increase the voltage, reduce the current, keep it as a pulse or a wave, right? Does a wave here's a question. Does a wave turn into a pulse when you run it through a full wave bridge rectifier? Does it become a square wave? Square wave pulses? There's a scooter. Looks like they were wearing helmets. That's good. Because some of the words that are used for a pulsing DC is impulse, which is supposed to be extremely effective in charging batteries. The batteries just love that, if I understand correctly. Now I'm speaking as an absolute beginner, and I'm going to call that an uneducated guess, even though I've spent hundreds of thousands of hours reading. I am the only person I know that can read so much and like not remember what I'm reading, or even not come to some kind of conclusion, which is part of the reason I document what I'm thinking about on this channel, because it's like, where did all the information go? It's like I could read something, share it real quick before I forget it, and then it's gone. But nope, it's not gone because I made a video of it. I don't know why, but this helmet feels extremely uncomfortable. Like after I've been wearing it for a long time. I have a super, super comfortable street bike helmet. My Joe Rocket Snell approved, SNELL, highly recommend any Snell approved helmet. Highly recommend any helmet that is Snell approved. And that helmet I think I could wear all day and all night and not be just uncomfortable. But why am I not wearing that one? Well, I think because I crash a lot. And I don't want to just tear that helmet up. Which makes me think I should be shopping for another Snell approved helmet. It's a good idea. I just forget that this helmet's uncomfortable when I'm not wearing it. I was just talking to Cameron about that. I was telling him, like, he said, do I feel that I could I think he said teach someone how to ride? Like, am I there yet, right? And I thought to myself, I don't know anything about riding. Like when we were sitting down eating. But when I'm riding, I'm in touch with the things I've learned. And I said, you know, Cameron, if I'm riding the electric unicycle at that moment, I can talk about it. And that's what I do. Because he said, Joseph, you've talked about the way you ride and things you were taught. You talk about those things while you're riding. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but he said he was just pointing it out, but he didn't use the tone I just used. And I'm like, yeah, wait a second, I do talk about. I said, well, and then I remembered that when I'm riding, I'm actually in touch directly with everything that I've been taught about riding, including my experience and including people sharing with me how to ride and tips on riding and things like that. So I'm not where I can stand next to my EUC, my electric unicycle, and say, oh, this is how I ride and this is what I do. But if I'm standing on it, riding it, I think I can make like maybe educational videos about how I ride it. My one reservation and hesitation and reluctance is that I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt riding an electric unicycle, and it's easy for me to forget how dangerous they are. And what I mean is, like everyone says, where's the brakes? What do you hold on to? Like a lot of people say that, right? Well, watch what happens if I need to stop. I'm going to stop at this corner, right? Watch this. Okay, I'm going, and I have to stop. Watch what happens. See that? Now that took practice. And I'm still learning. But I'm going to stop here again. Watch this. See that? I'll do it again right here. Watch. See that? Okay. Cameron said this stops as fast as his scooter. And he has a Segway GT2. And that scooter is over-engineered in every way. The only thing it doesn't have, and Cameron said he wants double the range. I want 6 times the range, and I'm talking about the battery. No, I don't care if it weighs, how much it weighs. I'm not concerned about weight. I'm not lifting that thing up anyway. I would roll it into something with a ramp. Okay, it's already too heavy to lift for me. I mean, I don't want to be lifting it. What I mean is I can lift it, but I don't want to lift it. I would use a ramp for that. Okay, so having a small, I'm going to call it a small battery in it to reduce weight, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for range. So if I was ever to consider one of those scooters again, because I did like the scooter a lot, but the reason I didn't keep my Segway GT2 was for one reason. It was the range. The speed was good, everything was good. In fact, more speed would have been preferable. Oh, not just range, higher voltage. I don't know what voltage that battery is on the Segway GT2, and they did a great job. It's powerful and it's fast, but I like high voltage. Okay, I would prefer like 120 volts, 150 volts. My electric unicycle is 151.2 volts fully charged. That's what the battery charger charges this at. The stock charger charges at 151.2 volts. Okay, and it can take a 15 amp charge. That's a fast charge. Oh, I thought my battery died. Did it? Where's my battery at? Why can't I see the battery? Oh, okay, we still got some battery in there. There's still a few percent in there. I don't know how much, but it had some. It still has charge. Okay, I'm gonna turn left here. I can't tell if there's a crosswalk there. Oh. Okay, crossing here. Let's see where this says to go. I think it wants me to turn. Okay. What was I talking about? Voltage. I'm sorry, I've gone off on a couple tangents. I'm going to try to go back to each thing I was talking about. So, yeah, with the Segway GT2, I would want really high voltage and also a much bigger battery. And I said 6 times the range, and I mean that. So if it can go... I remember going full speed on it, and I felt a power drop after 12.5 miles. Now, that's going full speed, so how fast can the Segway GT2 go? It can go... I'm trying to remember. Is it 46 miles per hour, approximately? So just under 50 miles per hour. Right, and it can burn rubber, it can make the tires smoke and all that. It has a lot of power. But I'm a big fan of high voltage, and I want a higher voltage, and I want more capacity, which is, I'll call it amp hours. You can also call it watt hours, more watt hours for the battery. So I don't know what the watt hours are, but like a 6,000 watt hour battery would be great. Or like a 60 amp hour battery, right? 60 amp hours means I could draw 60 amps for 1 hour, and then the battery's depleted, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts. But you know what? It was easier just to buy a Dualtron Storm Limited, which charges at fully charged. It's 96 volts, 95 volts. So the battery charger charges at 95 volts, and it was a 45 amp hour battery, which I think watt hours was. How many watt hours was that? I think it was at 4,000. I think it was around 4,000 watt hours. And that had, to me, like a really good, it was great. It had great range, great power. And I had just bought that scooter when I learned to ride shortly thereafter a InMotion V10F. And the rest is history, because I learned on the V10F, which I highly recommend for learning. But I also tell people whatever electric unicycle you have access to is the perfect one to learn on. And just take it slow, wear full gear, definitely wear wrist guards with proper, I'm going to call it suspension on the palms, which means if you slam your hand down, there's something to absorb that impact, and it doesn't transfer all that impact to your bones, which will snap, right? People snapping their wrists and breaking their fingers and stuff. So, okay, it's wet up there. Let me see. Is there any cars behind me? Can't tell if that car's coming this way yet. Oh yeah, they're coming this way. I'm just gonna go around the water. Well, the sidewalk was wet. I don't know if the water was on or not. What else was I talking about? So I think I was also saying I don't want to see anyone getting hurt with the EUC. I wouldn't want to say, yeah, you could write an EUC and not make sure someone understands that they can. Well, they know. People know already. They're like, wow, that looks so dangerous. They say that sometimes, right? They can see that it's like easy to fall over. And I say, well, if you have the right gear on, but it's more than that, right? Have you learned how to fall? I was taught how to fall when I was a kid. You roll, right? How to roll. Some people call it rolling it out. Like you just let the energy, is it the kinetic energy? Let the energy that's built up in the speed that we're traveling, let it dissipate over a distance. Now, sliding is another way to do it. Some people just say slide, they slide it out. But if you have the proper gear on, right? Okay. Let's see. Let's see where I'm to go now. Straight still. Look at this building across the street. It has 4 points that are touching the ground, and the whole building's held up in the air by those 4 points, right? It's really interesting. See that? Isn't that interesting? An interesting building. You want to go under it? You want to go under this building? Imagine going under the building. We're under it right now. It's held up by 4 points. That point, that point, that point, and that point over there. So I'm curious, the numbers I am interested in is how much weight can each of those corners, each point that holds it up, how much weight can that hold? And then how much weight does the building weigh? What's the capacity? How much weight can we add to the building, right, with furniture and people? And then what's the building's capacity to move in an earthquake, right? And is it on, I don't know if it's called rollers or what's it called, but where it's like where the building can move, right? And how much movement can it tolerate, if I say it that way, or withstand? How much movement, what's the range of motion that it's designed for? These are just thoughts. Now, with an earthquake, let's say it's a rolling earthquake, right? Have you ever felt an earthquake that rolls? So it goes, so imagine it's taking that building, it's like lifting and pushing it up and then down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's pulsing, right? Like it's pulsing. And so on a pulse, when it pushes the building up, what's that force, right? How much does the building double its weight when the ground is pushing that building up for that moment? And then when that pulse goes down, I'm calling it a pulse, but when the rolling earthquake goes down, and then the building meets the ground again, or the pressure of that weight, what's the weight of the building then? Is it double the weight, triple the weight? I'm just curious. It's just thoughts, right? Now I'm sure there's proper words for everything I just said, but I'm just using my own simplistic, simple words. To describe my thoughts. Okay, here we are. I'm supposed to go straight still. Oh, I could charge again. Oh, I'm full. I got a full battery. I was gonna stop by the mall and charge. I've gone 68 miles today. That guy got really close to me. I guess this is kind of a nice road, so I could go this way. Okay, this is a construction area. That reminds me, I got hurt in one of these, in the same kind of situation here on a scooter. I was going through there and a piece of metal was sticking out and caught, I don't know if it was my arm or the handlebars. I went flying. I went flying down on the ground. And that was painful. But luckily, it wasn't more serious. I wanted to let the company know that there was a piece of metal sticking out, but I couldn't find a phone number or any way to contact them. So I guess I was just too busy to... Well, I did try. I went back and a couple times and tried to figure out how I could call them and let them know that there's a dangerous situation there. This was over in Van Nuys where this happened. But I couldn't figure out how to reach the company. There was just no like information on the building. I don't even think there was an address because they were building the building. I don't know if they were remodeling the building or if they were building a new building. It looked like they might have been remodeling, but either way, I just couldn't figure out how to let them know that. So anyway, I thought there should have been some kind of contact information on that building, the one where I got hurt at, but I almost forgot about that. Is that a coyote? It's a coyote. Wow. He's way down here. He's far from the mountains. I wonder if he goes back up to the mountains each night. Wonder if I followed him if he'd go back to the mountains. I would think there's more, well, I think he's looking for food. I would think there's more food in the mountains. Maybe not. Oh, maybe because all the animals are competing for the food there. Food, I'm talking about life. Usually they're in like 2 or something. Get! Oh gosh, I'm going through a lot of water. Oh, there's 2 of them. Look at that. There is 2. It's interesting how they will be in pairs. I see that like almost 100% of the time. I just got soaked in the water. I think the lynx is waterproof, so that's good. So I'm going to talk about Bill Kendrick's field system again. I'm calling it his field system because he shared this concept. If we flash vaporize the field, and if what Bill is saying, well, I'll tell you his experience. I'll just share his experience with you. I spoke with this man for many years, and he said that the exhaust system remained cool to the touch. Now, some people say that no one really cares about that, and also a lot of people don't even know the exhaust is hot or don't care about the exhaust. And I think I get that. I understand, everyone has different interests. I will tell you about myself by saying this is extremely interesting to me and extremely significant, because, and all I can do is share with you why it interests me, and not to try to gain your interest, but just to share my process with you, if that interests you. And that is, Bill said, see, people always want to know where the energy's coming from, right? If you're getting extra energy somewhere, where does it come from? Well, it's like we're living in a sea of energy, for one. And the ether, if a person thinks there's no energy in the ether and space, then I may ask, where do we think electricity comes from when we pay for it? Because we can't make energy. My understanding is we're pumping the energy from the ether into our circuits from the wires, right? That's my understanding. We can call it a thought experiment. Now, Bill Kendrick says, one moment. I'm trying to put my phone away. Okay. So when Bill Kendrick said that he dyno tested his truck, which did not have catalytic converters on it, when Bill Kendrick said he dyno tested his truck, I could smell the exhaust on that train. I think those are diesel train. I think I was told that these trains are hybrids. Series hybrids, my favorite kind. We're gonna turn right here to get away from the noise. Which has a generator, has a diesel engine turning a generator. Diesel engine turning a generator. And I don't know if the generator, what does the generator do? The generator powers an electric motor. I think that's how it works. I don't even know if it uses batteries. I was told that they use capacitors for the braking system. I've never studied a train schematics. Well, I have in the past, and actually someone shared train schematics with me a long time ago. I just don't remember all the details. But what was I saying? Lost my train of thought for a moment. The train was so loud. It was like roaring sounds. Roaring train. Okay, let's go back to Bill Kendricks. So Bill Kendricks talks about, people always want to know where the energy comes from. So if there's a lot of research being done, and has been done for the past 100 years, on what to do with all the waste heat. But what if we look at what if we can look at what's the goal of combustion? First of all, let me start with that. What's the goal of combustion? I understand the goal to be to maximize efficiency, okay? Now, I understand maximizing efficiency to be coupling, I'll call it, which is not the right word, but I'm just going to use that word, coupling the gasoline molecules with oxygen before we send the gasoline and the oxygen into the combustion chamber. Now, what's the combustion chamber? Engines have a combustion chamber. That's where the fuel burns before going into the exhaust system and then before going into the catalytic converter. Now, I've read that some automakers are using a fuel injector of some type or kind and spraying gasoline into the catalytic converter when the vehicle's cold to heat up the catalytic converter faster, right? Just spraying fuel directly in there, raw fuel. Heat that up as quick as can, right? Now, my research and study indicated that it looked like there was a place to have some kind of heating element in the catalytic converter to heat up the catalytic converter. But then that was never, for some reason, it wasn't utilized. And that was not pursued, it appears, at least in a production manner where it's mass produced, right? But just spraying fuel in there, right? So we're just dumping fuel literally into the exhaust system, raw fuel into the exhaust system, not even into the engine, just right into the exhaust. Let's heat up the catalytic converter, let's heat up the exhaust. In my mind, that's a strange thing, but I can see the brilliance of it in terms of just a creative way to heat up the catalytic converter, right? I mean, even though the engine's already dumping a bunch of unburned fuel into the catalytic converter, it's like, if you dump even more, then it'll heat up faster, right? Does that shorten the life of the catalytic converter? I don't know. I think it could, comparatively speaking. But if it reduces emissions, or if it increases how fast the catalytic converter heats up, which can reduce emissions, then strictly from an emissions viewpoint, it's like we've reduced efficiency we've reduced the gasoline efficiency, like how long we can drive on a gallon of gas. We've reduced that at the price of reducing emissions in that sense, right? Because it can appear that we have reduced emissions because we heated up the catalytic converter faster. So I can understand that logic, if I call it that. But my favorite thought experiment, if I say it that way, is how can I ideally, an ideal situation would be to couple, and I just mean pair up the required oxygen with the needed gasoline molecules, so that when that fuel goes into the combustion chamber, it burns so clean that the spark plugs, even after driving for many years, still appear brand new. You take the engine apart, right? Take the head off the engine. It still appears new inside. Just like what? What engines look like that? Engines that run on natural gas. Engines that run on natural gas are, they look really clean, I'm told. I've been told this by many, many people. Is that dog chasing? Not dog, but the coyote, is that chasing me? Oh, I thought it was coming this way. Oh, he's just sitting there in the street. There's the other one. There are always two. There's a fire truck. Okay. pairs of two. I don't see coyotes one by themselves, not just one. I see that all the time. Interesting, right? Nature. So how do we pair up oxygen with the gasoline molecule before it goes into the engine? And the one way that stands out to me in terms of simplicity, now it seems, I'm going to say it that way because in my mind it's simple, right? I mean, what do we need? A hot plate, fuel injector, spray the fuel, and just spray the right amount to get it that when you accelerate. I mean, one thought is, what's the least fuel we can use to make the vehicle or motorcycle, whatever it is, to make it move at the desired speed we need to achieve, right? So, and that would just be through testing, right? Just through testing. Cameron and I were talking about using, I asked Cameron, I said, what if I use AI to control like an Arduino circuit that, you know, balances all these numbers of like how much fuel to give the engine based on how much throttle I'm turning the accelerator from, you know, with, if it's a motorcycle, how much I'm turning the throttle for the motorcycle to accelerate. If it's a vehicle, a car, a vehicle, then how much I'm pushing the pedal down, right? So, let me think. Yeah, I want to do this experiment so bad. And Cameron's like, what you need is a philanthropist. I think that's the word he used. Is someone that would be willing to, that does things for humanitarian purposes. And so why could this benefit humanity, right? Why? Because if we can reduce emissions, even if we just can reduce emissions. Now, what did Bill Kendrick say, right? NASA research projects manager. Bill Kendrick's retired, right? Bill Kendrick said that when he tested the smog machine running this old truck that had no catalytic converter, I mean nothing to clean up the exhaust, right? Had nothing to clean up the exhaust. This old truck that usually smelled terrible, all kinds of unburnt fuel going out the exhaust. When he ran the white vapor system, the smog test read all zeros. All the numbers were zero, right? So 0 hydrocarbons, which is unburned fuel, and all the other numbers were zeros. Like, just, there was nothing in there that can harm us. And Bill ran the system for 25 years on his truck and around 7 different vehicles. So I would love to test this myself and see. I mean, I've done some testing. I've run an engine on it. I saw the engine run cool. I didn't do a smog test. I didn't have a chance to do that because we didn't have the system set up to be able to drive the vehicle. We just ran the engine in stationary in one spot just to see if it would run and also to see how it would run. And it ran really strong. Like, it sounded really good. It was a V8, a big V8 engine, and it was like a Ford Bronco. But anyway, so these are thoughts that I'm sharing with you, and I'm going to say goodnight to everyone now, and we'll see you soon in the next video, which should be tomorrow night. And that will be the pre-ride for tomorrow's ride, and then also the ride. I'm gonna look into live streaming and see how that looks, and maybe everyone might like that. I might just do it as an experiment to see. I think people might like live streaming. I'll see how that goes. So that would connect to my phone, and hopefully it's easy. When I tried to do live stream with the Insta360 X3, I had so much, like, it seemed so complicated and difficult. I just couldn't get it to work right. Now it's been, I don't know, a year or two or so since I tried it last. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, everyone, True Zero Emission signing off. I hope you have a wonderful and safe day, night, and many days and nights to come. See you in the next video. Bye, everyone.